Today it's guitarist, singer, songwriter Kenny Wayne Shepherd. The 5-time Grammy nominee is out with his 9th studio album called Lay It On Down, an album full of bluesy, roots-based Americana rock and roll. We talk, of course, about the record. We talk, of course, about his love of cars, TV cars, even cars that his father-in-law Mel Gibson drove, as well as the Dream Cruise here in Detroit. And we did it all while fighting with a bad phone signal today on Radio Chatter.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
This is Radio Chatter with WRIF's own Meltdown.
Crappy phone signals aside, this is a killer interview with Kenny Wayne Shepherd. It kind of sucks that the phone signal kind of died out on us because we were having a really great conversation, and all of a sudden Kenny's phone just started fizzling out. But you'll hear it coming up here in just a few minutes. He called right back, and we continued onward. But it kind of like ruined a little bit of the mojo we had going there for a little while. But all in all, it's always great to talk to Kenny Wayne Shepherd, a good guy. New record out called Lay It On Down, and it's got 10 tracks, I think 4 of which Kenny sings on. The other ones are with Noah Hunt, of course, his longtime vocalist. He's been with him for the better part of, 2 decades or whatever. Chris Layton on drums, of course, from Stevie Ray Vaughan's band. He's got The Rides bassist Kevin McCormick. That's his band with Steven Stills. Really cool. And keyboardist Jimmy McGorman make up the band for this new record. Like I said, Lay It On Down. It's out right now. Kenny Wayne Shepherd crisscrossing the country and touring. Actually calling us from the tour bus, which I didn't find out till the end. Thought maybe he would have been driving around in his hometown of Shreveport, where they recorded this record. In the meantime, I was connected with Kenny, and here's how the conversation sounded. Kenny Wayne Shepherd today on Radio Chatter.
Hey, I'm good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. I see that, the first thing I saw on your website was you're playing the Harley Davidson Museum on September 1st, man. That's my cup of tea right there.
Yeah, we got a lot of fans that are Harley enthusiasts, and, we played the 100th anniversary, years ago, and we've done a lot of events with those guys. It always kind of makes for a natural pairing, motorcycles and blues and rock and roll,
Yeah, natural fit, there's no question. That was the first thing I thought about. I'm like, man, the Harley guys, they just got to love seeing some blues rock from Kenny Wayne Shepherd up there on stage.
Absolutely. It goes over very well. We've done Sturgis Bike Week several times, and, it's just fascinating because those guys show up and they ride their bikes like into the audience, and then they rev their motorcycles instead of applauding after songs, which is kind of weird, but it's cool.
Did you ever see the movie I Love You, Man?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that's a movie. It was with Paul Rudd and Steven. The Seagal guy's buddy there. I want to say Steven, but that's not it. Anyways, in the movie, they're two buddies, and I had a chance to interview them. And during the movie, they're big Rush fans. And they said during the movie, there was this one part where they were at a Rush concert and they were mad at each other. And so they explained to the guys in Rush that they were going to be watching the band with their arms folded, not because they hated the band, but because they were mad at each other. And the guys from Rush said, I think Neil or someone said, "Oh, so it's going to be like every Rush concert." Do you ever play on stage and watch the fans, like the guitar guys with their arms folded, just watching you?
Actually, just the other night, there was like 5 guys on the second row, and I could tell they were guitar players. Like, you can look out over the crowd, and you can generally tell, like, because we have a mixture of fans, that come just because they love the music, and then we have some that come because they're guitar players. And you can always tell the guitar players because they're watching what you're doing, and, they're more focused on, watching your fingers and the licks and things like that than they are the rest of the show. But, it's all good. I mean, I welcome everybody to the shows, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and do you ever feel like when those guys are out there, do you ever feel like a need to really, like, show off a little bit, or you just kind of stay in the pocket where you're supposed to be?
Well, I'm not much of a show off, really. I'm not one of those guys, like a lot of guitar players, like watching the guys that can play a million notes a minute, my whole thing has always been feel-based. So, I want...
Hey, yeah, Kenny, there. Yeah, you're probably going through a bad area. So, yeah, you're talking about how your music is basically, feel-based, and go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be too flashy.
And then it went totally haywire. So anyways, had to break off our conversation there for a couple minutes, kind of got back into a better place, and gave us a call back. So we continue onward. Kenny Wayne Shepherd here on Radio Chatter. Yeah, Kenny, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, you faded out there.
It was one of those super annoying things. I could hear every word you were saying, you know?
Oh, okay.
You could hear me.
Yes. So anyways, yeah, you were talking about, the feel and stuff. It's like somebody, like Yngwie Malmsteen. Like that guy's like one of those guys just like plays a billion notes, but you're kind of one of the guys you just like to feel your way through it. And go ahead, you were saying.
Yeah, I never tried to be too flashy of a player. To me, it's more about like being raw and just trying to convey emotion through the instrument. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you did that in this record. The new record's out right now, and But before I got too much into it, I listened to the record and stuff, and then before I started like studying up on it, it does sound like a real live record. And apparently you recorded this to analog and stuff, and you guys were jamming in the room. And I saw your bass player talking about how, hey, if you want to go an extra 8 bars, he just watches you. It's like a physical thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, we make music the way music was intended to be made, all musicians playing in the room at the same time together. I like analog tape. I like doing it the old-fashioned way. But yeah, I mean, nowadays people are like emailing songs back and forth, and people are laying their parts on top of one another, never stepping in the studio together, and that's just not how I like to make music. There's a human element to making music that doesn't exist if you don't play it together.
Yeah, I talked to the guys from Stone Sour recently, and they recorded their record fairly live, and apparently their producer actually covered up the Pro Tools rig so they couldn't see it, because it's like, they said that some people get caught up in watching the music as opposed to just playing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You can get kind of sucked into the virtual world of all of that stuff, but like I said, when I'm in the studio, we try and do the old-fashioned way. If we're doing something for, if you're on like the 10th take or even like the 6th take, it's best to just move on. You don't want to get sucked into overthinking it, overanalyzing things. This is making music, it's not rocket science.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to another point. Do you ever go home at night after playing a song and just something sticks in your head and you're like, that's just not right, we got to go back and fix it, or do you just kind of let it go?
Oh, no. I mean, no, you definitely, if something needs to be fixed, we'll go back and fix it. Or if there's an idea that needs to be explored, we'll go back in and explore it. But I try not to, dwell on things too much and start, really splitting hairs and stuff, because that's a dangerous trap you can fall into.
Yeah. Now, how do you decide which songs you sing and which songs Noah sings?
Well, usually when I write the songs, I can kind of tell whose voice is going to be most appropriate for it. But, at the end of the day, if there is a song that I'm planning on singing and it's just not happening, then I always know I can hand it off to him and he's going to do a great job with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when somebody listens to this record, what do you think stands out for you? I mean, it's a record. It's all over. It's like like you've said in interviews before. It's Americana. It's roots, blues, rock, even a little bit of country thrown in. What can people like? What do you want them to get from it?
Well, I would just like them to say, to listen to it, and this is American music, and it explores a lot of different genres that we mix with blues, and to create what I think is a very contemporary and fresh, new sounding record, and there's good stories, there's great lyrics. The album takes you on a journey. But if you just like good music, you'll love this record.
Yeah, and it seems, I don't know, something struck me when I listened to the record over and over again. There seems to be a lot of songs about women.
Well, that's just, there's a lot of songs about women, period, ever since people were writing songs.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, how was your, how was your playing and just your musicianship grown after playing with guys, from the rides and different guys you play with? You play with so many different guys.
Well, I learned a lot being in the rides with Stephen Stills. I mean, he's pushed me to be a better singer, to sing more. He's pushed me to play guitar in a few different ways. I think we've kind of inspired one another. And, just after doing this for over 25 years, it's just, I've grown, I've matured as a player, as a performer, as a producer, as an artist, and so a lot of the things that have changed about me as an artist are things that come just with experience,
Yeah, it seems crazy to think that I played your first songs and you were just a whippersnapper.
Yeah, I was lucky, man. I did my first record when I was 17 years old, and it connected with people, and that started the fan base that supported me for 25 years. So I'm very grateful to still be doing this today.
Yeah, well, the new record's out. Of course, you're up on tour as well. And when you go out on tour, what happens to your cars? Does somebody take care of them for you, or you just kind of leave them be?
Well, they're kind of scattered. some of them are at my house, some of them are at my buddy's shop in L.A., and some of them are at my buddy's shop down in Georgia, but they're being looked after for sure.
Yeah. Now, are you basically like a Mopar guy? Is that like your car of choice?
Well, I love all cars that look good and go fast. I've leaned heavily towards American muscle cars from the 60s and 70s, and Dodge, Mopars are my forte, if you will. But, I mean, just anything that looks good and goes fast, I'm into it,
Yeah. I think I asked you about this last time I talked to you, but have you ever been to the Dream Cruise here in Detroit?
No, you know what? I wanted to come, and my friend Tim Taniskis, who's president over at Dodge, invited me to come out because they were doing the big Roadkill Nights drag thing on Woodward.
That was awesome.
I know. I really wanted to be there because, I have one of the new Dodge Demons on order, and so I'm getting one of those cars. And so I wanted to come so bad, and but we had a show, so I couldn't make it. But, I sent them an email and, let them know I was there in spirit. I was watching it online. They were streaming it and stuff. It was very cool. But I'm always working when they do the Dream Cruise. So one of these years, hopefully, I'll have an opening and I'll be able to make it.
That's how I feel about Sturgis. I can never get out to Sturgis. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. But one of these days, I'll make it.
Now, you got a General Lee and stuff. What other TV cars did you like growing up?
Well, I grew up in the era of TV cars, like Smokey and the Bandit, Knight Rider, and the Dukes of Hazzard and everything, and even like Magnum PI, although that wasn't like my favorite show or anything. But I just like seeing cool cars on television that were also like, one of the characters and oftentimes one of the heroes of the shows. So, the Trans Am for Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, all of those things. I mean, one of the Mad Max vehicles pretty awesome too, for that movie. So, but there was an era back then where cars played a significant role in a lot of films and television shows.
Yeah. Now you cut out a little bit. Did you mention the Mad Max cars? Did you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That thing's pretty killer.
Now your father-in-law is Mel Gibson, and of course, I think I asked you about this before. If you've ever even had a chance to get like one of those Mad Max cars.
No, he doesn't have one. And, he likes cars, but he's not into them like I am. So he's not like a collector or anything. But that would certainly be a cool car to have.
Yeah, especially, the driving on the other side of the car. And it was just, that was a kick-ass machine.
Yeah, it's, there's guys that build clones of them. But, like I said, I don't have one and he doesn't have one, but it's really one of the coolest movie cars ever made.
I think out of all the Dream Cruises I've been to out here in Detroit, that's probably one of the only cars I've never seen. I've seen Ghostbuster cars and, there's General Lee's and all sorts of cars, Magnum PI, the whole thing. But that might be one of the few I haven't seen.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them here in the States, but there are some. And I think there's a guy in Australia that builds a lot of the kits where you can make a replica.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we could talk cars all day long. I'm a huge car guy. I'm glad that you were watching at Roadkill Nights on streaming online because we were there live and there was like 30,000 people there and it was really cool.
Yeah, it's a really awesome event. I mean, you don't get to drag race legally on any street, public road like that, but especially, like Woodward Avenue. And, it's such a cool thing for them to do. I think it was the second time they've done it. I'm sure they're going to do it again in the future. So, like I said, hopefully I'll be able to make it out one year.
Yeah, they did that last year, and it was such a success. Hey, real fast, getting back into music, I just picked up Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs the other day, and I was listening to it last night, preparing to talk to you today. What are your thoughts on a guy like that?
Well, Robin's great. I mean, he's very acclaimed guitar player. He's been around for a long time. The guy plays really well. He's had a fantastic career. I mean, what more is there to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought of you when I was listening to this. I'm like, man, this has to be something that's right in your wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of players, but he's certainly one of them. He's done a great job and influenced a lot of people over the years.
Yeah, you know what else I got into recently, which is probably right up your alley too, is Blackberry Smoke. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, I know those guys, and they're kind of a little more into a little heavier rock, but still, I mean, it's like kind of like heavy Southern rock and roll, and certainly, they've found a really great fan base that has connected with their music.
Yeah. Well, listen, Kenny, we'll let you fly on down the highway. I see are you driving one of your hot rods now, or is it just one of your a regular car or what?
No, we're in the tour bus, man.
Oh,
We're out on the road.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, all right. Hardly a General Lee, I suppose.
No, but this thing's got a lot of torque. But I don't think it'll do a burnout.
I'm sure. Well, listen, man, safe travels. We appreciate the time. Lay it on down.
All right, man. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
KWS, Kenny Wayne Shepherd today on Radio Chatter. The new record, Lay It On Down, is out right now. And, of course, like you heard him talking about, crisscrossing the country, playing shows all over the place and around the world, as a matter of fact. So always good to talk with Kenny Wayne Shepherd. One day, I'm going to talk to him just about cars. Nothing about music, just about cars, because I'm a big car fan myself. And he's got some kick-ass rides. That General Lee he has was redone on a TV show, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. Every nut and bolt was replaced. It's really cool. It's an awesome ride. That old Dodge Charger, man, it's so kick-ass. So in the meantime, hope you guys dug this podcast. We'll do it all over again real soon. As a matter of fact, Janet Gardner from the band Vixen is going to join us on an upcoming podcast here. And I do believe one of my favorite hockey heroes, Joe Koser, he's got a special thing happening this coming weekend here in the Detroit area, which we'll talk to him about coming up as well. So thanks so much for checking out Radio Chatter. Give us a rating, give us a review if you like, and of course share this with your buddies. Kenny Wayne Shepherd's Day. Thank you so much for listening.
Poor boy, a chance to take them away to the world you've been dragging around.